Shout out to G-Man Boxing.
Alright, people. As you'll see there on screen, ID Boxing are reporting that there's potential talks underway. This was reported by a guy called MSL, Mr. St. Lawrence, I believe is how you say the name. And he's basically been reporting that Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, there is potential talks underway for a potential meeting in the second half of the year in the Middle East. Now, they've not gone into any great lengths with regards the talks and dates and stuff like that. They're talking about the second half of the year, but potentially we're hearing talk of Wilder Joshua. Wilder Joshua is, it's safe to say it's probably about 4 or 5 years past when it was at its absolute best, when both guys were champions and it could have been for undisputed. Probably past that level of intrigue, but commercially it's still a massive fight. I mean, you could make the case that this is bigger commercially than Usyk versus Fury. You could make it not a bigger fight in terms of the prestige, the legacy that comes with it, undisputed, etc. But in terms of just sheer appeal to the casual market, I mean, this fight has it. Joshua Wilder, as I said, they're not what they were in terms of their name value as they were a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, Joshua was unbeaten. He had 3 of the 4 titles. Wilder had the WBC. Seemed like a no-brainer to make this fight a go. Team Joshua tried their hardest to make this fight. We know that. Obviously, the Zone with the $100+ million deal for Deontay Wilder, and somehow, inexplicably, he turned that down. Right, and that's probably one of the reasons why PBC and Al Heyman are in the state that they're in, was because Deontay Wilder obviously saw the money that was being batted around. Al Heyman and PBC were like, well, crap, we're going to have to try and make him some proper money now. This is why they put Brazil on pay-per-view. They definitely put Ortiz on pay-per-view, and the Ortiz pay-per-view flopped badly. He's fought Hellenius on pay-per-view, for God's sake. Hence the reason why PBC, I think, are in the shape they're in nowadays, where they're putting on hardly any shows, and a lot of the shows they're putting on pay-per-view. It's one of the reasons why so many of the fighters are inactive and or leaving. Look at Andy Ruiz, look at what Deontay Wilder's talked about being a free agent, so to speak. So, crazy when you look back at it, how bad a move that was. Deontay Wilder really, when Andy Ruiz beat Anthony Joshua, Wilder was making it out as though he beat him. The way Wilder was talking after the fight, it really just... It's crazy because he was so happy that Joshua lost, and it's like, mate, seriously, calm it back. That's the biggest career payday for you. It's the biggest fight of your career gone up in flames. That's undisputed gone, right? Biggest payday of your career gone, and he got beat by a guy that wasn't you. He was beat by Andy Ruiz. You didn't even beat him. So why the hell are you getting up and trying to celebrate the fact that you're literally celebrating the fact there's a massive payday gone? May come around now, probably won't be what it was, definitely won't be what it was back in 2018, 2019, but nevertheless, it's still a very, very good fight. So, there's no real mention would they have. Obviously, Joshua is signed to fight Franklin the start of April the 1st. Now, he should come through that fight pretty straightforward enough. He really should. He shouldn't have too many issues with Franklin. Like I've said, Franklin early on, a little bit of speed, decent jab, but other than that, I expect him to fade and get taken out mid-rounds by Joshua. Wilder, obviously, he has the eliminator against Andy Ruiz, but that seems to be a bit up in the air now. It would seem that maybe it's a little bit closer because Ruiz's team have decided not to go down the road of fighting Filip Hrgović, which I thought would have been an easier fight stylistically for him. So is the Wilder fight still there, or is Eddie Hearn, because he's talked about trying to get that fight on, is he going to try and get it on? I don't know. But if they're looking at doing Joshua Wilder, would they risk would they risk a Wilder Ruiz fight? Because I think Wilder wins that fight pretty comfortably. But Ruiz is game. He's game, but he's easy to hit. Slow feet, no head movement, should be an easy target for Wilder's right hand. The question is then, if we get this fight in the second half of the year, does Eddie Hearn bin the potential Dillian Whyte fight in the summer? Because he's obviously talked about Franklin Whyte in the summer and then a big fight at the end of the year. Would he bin the Whyte fight altogether, saying that you'd expect Joshua to come through Dillian Whyte with relative ease at this stage, but the fact of the matter is Dillian Whyte although he doesn't seem to be the fighter he was a couple of years ago, he still has that punching power. And that's still a risk. You know, Joshua has been caught by Dylan White before, and he wasn't caught particularly well in their meeting, but it still was enough to rock him. Dylan White's improved since then. Although I think he's regressed, he's still better than he was back in 2015. So would they look to do potentially Joshua versus Wilder August, September, and just bin the Dylan White fight altogether? Take the money in Saudi Arabia or the Middle East, wherever they have it around there, and just look to do Wilder versus Joshua? I mean, at this stage now, I still love to see Wilder Joshua. It's still a very good fight. It's, you know, boxing happening in the Middle East. Some people don't like it for whatever reason. I don't really mind it. Is the atmosphere as good as it would be in certain states like, you know, New York and Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Arena, MSG? Is it as good as it would be in Vegas and places like that, or in the UK? No, the atmosphere isn't as good, but it's not a dead atmosphere as well. Like, I mean, you see some of the shows like in other countries and it's just dead. The atmosphere is quite okay in Saudi. It's on at decent times in the US and over here in Europe. Because if you think about it like this, it's on in the US, depending on where you are, roughly about 4:30 or 5 o'clock, right? So it's on in the middle of the day or the evening. And here, because when we get the big fight, the really big fights, a lot of times it's a 4 a.m., 5 a.m. start, 10 p.m. at the latest. So you can't really complain over here. I don't mind it over in Saudi or wherever, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, etc., Qatar, wherever it is. I really don't mind. So let's see. The rumour is that this fight's being talked about, but you know the way these rumours go. Some rumours have a habit of, you know, turning out to be true. Some of them, I mean, they just fall by the wayside, and you stop and just thinking, who broke that story, or where did they hear it? But that's what we're hearing. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Wilder Joshua 2023, you still up for it, or do you think that fight is been and gone? Let me know in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button. As always, hit subscribe if you haven't already. For now, I'll talk to you. Peace.